Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 6 o'clock, so we're going to call the meeting to order. I'm going to start with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we live, work, and gather on the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin people, specifically the Temiskaming First Nation, and we recognize the presence of the Temiskaming First Nation in our community since time immemorial, and honor their long history of welcoming many nations to this beautiful territory, and uphold and uplift their voice and values. So I'll ask the clerk for the roll call, and we'll get started.
Good evening, Your Worship. All members are present.
Thank you very much. Item number 3 is review of revisions or deletion to the agenda. Has anybody got anything they want to add or delete to the agenda tonight? Hearing and seeing none, we go on to item number 4, approval of the agenda. I got a motion be resolved that City Council approves the agenda as printed. Moved by Councillor Foley, second by Councillor MacArthur. All in favor? That would be carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature tonight? So, hearing and seeing none. We'll move on to item number 6, a review and adoption of the council minutes. And I got a motion be resolved the City Council approves the following minutes as printed. A, the regular meeting of council that was held on February the 1st, 2022. So, we're moving a second for that motion. So, Councillor LaFerrier, second by Councillor Jelly. Any comments on the minutes? All in favor? That is carried. Tonight we have a public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act, and this public meeting scheduled tonight is for one zoning bylaw amendment application, and the Planning Act requires that a public meeting be held before council decides whether to pass a bylaw adopting a proposed amendment. And the public meeting serves 2 purposes. First, to present to the council and the public the details and background to the proposed amendment, and second, to receive comments from the public and agencies before a decision is made by council. So I now declare this to be a meeting to be open and to be a public meeting pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act. And the zoning bylaw amendment application to be heard this evening is application ZBA 2022-01. The owner is Rudolph and Candace Tobler. The applicant is Bill Ramsey of Ramsey Law Office Professional Corporation. The subject land is 118072 Sales Barn Road. And the purpose of the application is to rezone the property from prime agricultural A1 to an appropriate prime agricultural exception. So, Jennifer, you're on.
Thank you, Mayor Kidd. Okay, you can go to the next slide, Logan. Okay, so the purpose of the application is to amend the provisions of the prime agricultural zone to recognize a lot area of 32.4 hectares, which is 80 acres, where the zoning bylaw requires 40 hectares or 100 acres, and to permit an interior side setback of 1.5 meters for an existing Quonset hut, and that Quonset hut is located at the western edge of the building cluster on the property. So the amendment is a condition of approval for consent application B 2021-02, which was approved by the Committee of Adjustment in May of 2021. The subject property is the retained portion approved through that application, and just for some background, in October of 2021, Council did approve an amendment for the severed portion to prohibit future residential use and recognize a reduced lot area for that portion as well, just to jog your memory. So the subject property is shown here in blue diagonal lines. The property fronts on and does have an existing access to Sales Barn Road, and it's located just to the south of Tobler's Road. And then just an aerial image of the same area here. And then I just did a close-up here to show the existing building cluster. And when I talk about the Quonset hut, or the westernmost building, so you can see that little Quonset hut structure. It's located in close proximity to the newly created property line there. Okay, and some site visit photos here. So this picture was taken from the south part of the property, and it's looking northwest into the property, and that section of trees sort of on the center right of the picture is where that building cluster is located. And then this picture was taken from approximately the north property line looking southwest into the buildings. And then just one more here, it's looking directly into the property from just south of the north property line, and you can just see that the existing buildings are in close proximity to the property line already. So I'm not looking at the actual building that we're looking at here, just to show a little bit of perspective as what the buildings are looking like and where they're located. Okay, so the property is designated prime agricultural land in the city's official plan, and it's also identified as such by the province. So given that provincial designation, specific policies apply through the provincial policy statement, which have been included in the policy framework of the city's official plan. So the official plan identifies the protection of the agricultural land base for the long term as the priority, and it indicates that the predominant type of development will be the farm unit, including the land base, barns, and other farm buildings, a farm dwelling, and dwellings that may be required for additional labor, secondary uses, and agriculture-related uses. The official plan also includes policies for lot creation within the prime agricultural land designation, and it states that lot sizes shall be adequate to support the long-term needs of agriculture while ensuring that the parcels remain flexible to accommodate various types of agricultural uses. The official plan goes on to require that where land is severed for agricultural use, both the severed and retained properties must generally be a minimum of 40 hectares in area. And that word generally is very important in that policy. So the property is currently zoned prime agricultural, or A1, in the City of Temiskaming Shores zoning bylaw. The zoning bylaw requires a minimum lot area of 40 hectares, or 100 acres, and a minimum interior side yard for general use of 15 meters, or 50 feet. And the permissions requested for the subject property include the reduction of the minimum lot area to 32.4 hectares or 80 acres, and the reduction of the minimum interior side yard to 1.5 meters to recognize that existing Quonset hut on the western edge of the building cluster. Okay, so as I mentioned previously, this amendment is a requirement of approval of the consent application that was approved by the committee in May of 2021. Other conditions of approval include the standard legal paperwork to finalize the consent and register the parcel with the Land Registry Office, confirmation that the existing septic system on the retained portion is adequate for the residential use, and approval of the appropriate amendments for both the severed and retained properties. So for public notice, the notice of this hearing was advertised at the Temiskaming Speaker beginning on January 26th. The application was circulated to city staff and no concerns have been noted. No comments or concerns have been received from external agencies or members of the public for this application or any of the previous applications that have been considered. And the next step will be for council to consider an administrative report and recommendation at the March 1st regular meeting.
Thank you, Jennifer. I don't believe the applicant is online tonight. Oh, it's in the back here. So, did you have any comments you wanted to make at all? Sir? No comments? So, is there any questions or comments from council tonight? All pretty straightforward. So, I guess we'll keep moving right along. So there's really no comments. So we'll say that council will give due consideration to these any written comments that do come in as well. And at a future council meeting, we'll get back to approving this minor variance. So I'll now declare this meeting portion of the public meeting to be closed, and we'll carry on with our regular council meeting. So thank you, Jennifer. So reach the first question and answer period. Anybody got a question of council at this point? So if not, we'll move on. There's no presentations or delegations tonight. Moving into item number 11, the communications. The first is 11A is a letter from Tanya Daniels, the city clerk for the city of Brantford, regarding the closing the revolving door of justice. And that was received on January 28th for our information. 11B is a letter from myself, the Temiskaming Mayor's Action Group co-chair, regarding the Boreal Forest medieval villages. And there's a motion to be presented under new business tonight under section 15. That was received on January 31st. 10C is a letter from Slyn Leger Noel, the resident for her resignation from the Bicycle Friendly Committee. That was received on February the 7th. And there's a bylaw presented for consideration in section 16 of the bylaws tonight. 10D is a letter from Laurie McDonald, the Director of Corporate Services and the Clerk, regarding joint and several liability reform, received on February the 9th for our information. 10E is a letter from Tanya Daniels, the City Clerk for the City of Brantford, addressing the revolving door of justice regarding the accountability for sureties and swift justice, received on February the 7th for our information. 10F is a letter from John and Lorraine Cruel, their residents, and it's regarding an application to purchase municipal land, and that was received on February the 9th, and it's been directed to the municipal clerk to process in accordance with the Land Disposition Bylaw 2015-160. And lastly, 10G, the letter from the Temiskaming District Social Services Administration Board, the 2021 quarterly report for the fourth quarter, received on February the 9th for our information. So that's all the correspondence we have tonight, and be it resolved, City Council agrees to deal with the communication items 10A through 10G according to the agenda references. Mover and second, Councillor Jelly, second by Councillor Foley. Any comments, questions, Councillor Jelly?
Could I just ask, Your Worship, that A and E be sent on to the Police Service Board for information?
Okay. Councillor Whelan?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Kidd. Just item D regarding joint and several liability. That's been an issue that's been hanging over our heads for a long time. Both this Attorney General and the previous have done studies on this, and there is a group being formed between the Attorney General, the various insurance companies, and the Association of Municipalities Ontario to study all of the insurance for municipalities and how each line impacts another. So it'll be a while yet, but there is work being done on it.
So there could be some light at the end of the tunnel on that. So, okay. Any other comments? Anything else anybody wants to bring back for further discussion? If not, all in favor? That would be carried. Item number 12 is the Committees of Council, Community and Regional. I've got a motion to be resolved the following minutes be accepted for information. A, the minutes of the Age-Friendly Community Committee meeting held on December the 7th, 2021. And B, the minutes of the District Temiskaming Social Services Administration Board meeting held on November the 17th, 2021. So, mover and second of that motion, Councillor MacArthur, second by Councillor Foley. Any comments on those two sets of minutes? Call the question. All in favor? That would be carried. There's no committees of council, the internal departments tonight. Is there any reports by members of council? So, Councillor Whelan?
Yeah, just quickly, TMA will be meeting on February 24th, and there's been quite a few meetings and telephone conversations with regard to an issue that the mayor is bringing up, the boreal forest villages. So TMA has been very active.
Any other comments? We're still waiting for an announcement from the Minister of Transportation regarding the 2+1 highway. They were supposed to announce that by the end of January, and here we are in the middle of February and we still haven't heard anything yet. So I know they announced it, that it's going to happen at either one or two sites coming up Highway 11 from North Bay. Now which site, they haven't announced which one they're going to choose yet, but that's an ongoing project. Hopefully they're going to choose the northern one from the Highway 64 north, but we'll see. So we'll have to keep bugging them to make that announcement. So, are there any notice of motions tonight? So, seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to the new business. And the first is the Temiskaming Mayor's Action Group resolution, Boreal Forest Medieval Villages. It states, whereas developments known as Boreal Forest Medieval Villages are being proposed in unorganized townships within the District of Temiskaming, and whereas the developers of these villages are promoting the fact that developments are not subject to zoning bylaws, building permits, planning policies, or other municipal provincial regulations, and whereas the Provincial Policy Statement 2020 states in territories without municipal organization, the focus of development activity shall be related to the sustainable management or use of the resources and resource-based recreation uses. And whereas the Provincial Policy Statement 2020 further states that the development of new permanent town sites within territories without municipal organization shall not be permitted. And whereas matters related to the territories without municipal organization are under the sole jurisdiction of the province of Ontario. And whereas the scale of these developments in the unincorporated townships poses a significant concern for the incorporated municipalities in the District of Temiskaming, including demand for services such as landfill, fire protection, police protection, and social services, increased demand on our emergency and medical services such as EMS and local hospitals, who are already dealing with capacity issues, as well as environmental issues, impacts to the watershed and groundwater sources. Now therefore be resolved that the City of Temiskaming Shores hereby petitions the Honourable Steve Clark, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, to immediately enact a minister's zoning order under the Planning Act for each of the proposed Boreal Forest Medieval Village developments in order to ensure proper planning principles are being adhered to by the developer and that their developments are consistent with the Provincial Policy Statement 2020. And further, that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Honourable David Patini, the Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, the Honourable Greg Rickford, Minister of Northern Development, Mines, Natural Resources and Forestry, John Vantoff, MPP for the Temiskaming Cochrane, the Temiskaming Municipal Association, the Temiskaming Mayor's Action Group, and the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities. Mover and second for that motion. Moved by Councillor Whalen, second by Councillor Foley. Any questions, comments? Yes, Councillor Whalen.
Yeah, thank you. It's a very good motion. I think it covers the issues. Fully supported. On January 25th, I did have a delegation on this topic. I had the Minister of Health, Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, Minister of Northern Development, Mines, Natural Resources and Forestry, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Minister of Solicitor General, Attorney General, and even the Minister of Finance is up to speed on this now. But we had a good hour-long discussion on this topic, so I fully expect to see some action on the part of the province. They're taking this very seriously, so again, good motion.
Thank Chris for drafting all of that. I'll take credit for the covering letter, but I'll give credit to Chris for the bylaw. So, all in favor of this motion? That would be carried. So, 15B, the January 2022 year-to-date capital finance report. And I've got a motion be resolved. The Council of the City of Temiskaming Shores hereby acknowledge receipt of the January 2022 year-to-date capital financial report for information purposes. So, moved by Councillor MacArthur, second by Councillor LaFerrier. All in favor? That is carried. 15C is Memo 005-2022 CS, the Northern Ontario Resource Development Support Fund, NORDS, the transfer payment agreement. And I got a motion be resolved that Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledge receipt of Memo 005-2022 CS, and the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores hereby direct staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to enter into an agreement with Their Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario, as represented by the Minister of Northern Development, Mines, Natural Resources and Forestry, for the Northern Ontario Resource Development Support Fund transfer payment agreement for consideration at tonight's regular council meeting. So we're moving to second of that motion. Councillor Jelly, second by Councillor Foley. Any comments? Councillor Whalen?
Yeah, sorry to take up all the mic time, but
well, you were the one behind all this, so.
Yeah, I'm going to speak to the city manager on this just for clarification, because I haven't read the fine print in detail, but it says, therefore, the remaining portion of the city's available allocation from the program will be carried forward to cover costs of the city's next eligible project. I don't believe it's carried forward. I think we have to apply.
Okay.
Now, we can only apply in 3-year increments. So if we do apply, it'll be 56,225, 225. Whereas if we wait a year, it's 225, 225, 225. So we should just clarify that so we get because I know the next project is a big one and we should allocate as much funds as possible.
I will follow up. Thanks for that, Councillor Whalen. I'll follow up for sure on that. Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All in favor? That is carried. 15E is Memo 006-2022 CS, the deeming bylaw for BASA. It's 48 Lowry Street, Plan M82NB, lots 47 to 49, parcel 17483 SST. And the motion reads, whereas the owners of 48 Lowry Street in Hillbury would like to merge lots on title through the adoption of a deeming bylaw in compliance with the Planning Act in order to create one property with one roll number. And whereas the owners have acknowledged that registration of the pending deeming bylaw on title will be at their expense, now therefore be resolved that council for the city of Twisting Shores hereby direct staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to deem Plan M82NB, lots 47 to 49, parcel 17483, SST to no longer be lots on a plan of subdivision, and further that council hereby direct staff to prepare the necessary deeming bylaw for considering at the February 15th regular council meeting later tonight here. Moved by Councillor Whalen, second by Councillor Jelly. So, any questions, comments? All in favor? That is carried. Oh, sorry. Oh, Jeff, are you voting, Jeff, or you had a hand up for a question? Were you just voting, or you have a question?
Just voting.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
just voting.
Okay. So, thank you, sir. 15F was Administrative Report CS 007 2022, the zoning bylaw amendment for ZBA 2021-07, Diamond Township Concession 3, the south part of Lot 4, being RP 54R6087 Part 4 and RP 54R6156 Part 1. And the motion reads, be it resolved that council for the city of Twisting Shores acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report CS 007 2022. The council agrees to amend the provisions of the city of Twisting Shores bylaw 2017-154 to permit the zone change from prime agricultural A1 to open space to the, let me go back, prime agriculture A1 and open space to rural residential R1. And the council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to amend the city of Twisting Shores zoning bylaw 2017-154 for consideration at tonight's February 15th regular council meeting. So, can I move in a second to that motion, Councillor The Farrier, second by Councillor Foley. Any questions? All in favor? That would be carried. 15G is Administrative Report CS 008 2022, the sale of municipal property, part of 2nd Street and part of 4th Street. And the motion reads, be resolved that council for the city of Twisting Shores acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report CS 008 2022. The council directs staff to continue with the disposition of municipal land allowances, being A part of 2nd Street, described as Part 2 on Plan 54R6248, and B, the part of 4th Street, described as Part 1 on Plan 54R6248, in accordance with Bylaw 2015-160. And the council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to stop up and close the above described road allowances and to enter into an offer to purchase and sale agreement between the city of Twisting Shores as the vendor and Hazel and Maurice Flo as purchaser for the above described road allowances in the amount of $500 plus taxes if applicable per street, plus all associated costs. That's in legal, registration, survey, administration, etc. in accordance with Bylaw 2015-160 for consideration at tonight's February 15th regular council meeting. So, moved by Councillor MacArthur, second by Councillor Jelly. Any questions by anybody? All in favor? That would be carried. 15H is Memo 005 2022 RS, the Little Claybelt Homesteaders Museum expansion. And I got a motion to be resolved that council for the city of Twisting Shores acknowledge receipt of Memo 005 2022 RS, and the council hereby approves the request from the Little Claybelt Homesteaders Museum for an addition on the existing museum building for storage and display space, conditional upon the museum board undertaking the project on their own time and at their own expense in accordance with all applicable permits through consultation with the city's chief building official. So, moved by Councillor Whalen, second by Councillor Foley. Any comments? Well, it's kind of a nice little project there. It gives them some more space there and store some of these more antiques there from outside there. I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. 15I is Administrative Report RS 001 2022, the quotation award for the Shelley Herbert Shea Memorial Arena chiller replacement. And I got a motion to be resolved that council for the city of Twisting Shores acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report RS 001 2022, and the council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to enter into an agreement with CIMCO Refrigeration at Division of Tormont Industries Limited for the Shelley Herbert Shea Memorial Arena chiller replacement in the amount of $72,900 plus applicable taxes for consideration at tonight's regular council meeting. So, Moved by Councilor MacArthur, second by Councilor Jelly. So, any questions, comments? All in favor? So, that would be carried. 15J, Administrative Report RS 002, 2022, the Climate Change Committee recommendations to Council. And the motion reads, be it resolved, the Council for the State of Temiskaming Stores acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report RS 002, 2022. The Council directs staff to revise the Climate Change Committee Terms of Reference document to create a standing committee of Council responsible for guiding the cities towards its sustainable and climate change goals, and the Council directs staff to investigate funding options to hire a new staff member to complete updates to the greenhouse gas reduction plan in conjunction with the Climate Change Committee. So, who would like to move and second this motion? Councillor Foley, second by Councillor Hewitt, thank you. So, any comments? All in favor? That would be carried. 15L, Administrative Report RS 003, 2022, Recreation Facility User Liability Insurance Policy. And a motion be resolved, the Council for the State of Temiskaming Stores acknowledge the receipt of Administrative Report RS 003, 2022. The Council for the State of Temiskaming Stores directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to adopt the City of Temiskaming Stores Recreation Facility User Liability Policy, effective March 1st, 2022, for consideration at the February 15th regular Council meeting tonight. So, and Matt's around if you want to, anybody wants to ask any questions about that. So, we're moving to seconder. Moved by Councillor Foley, second by Councillor Jelly. So, any comments? Yes, Councillor Foley.
Yeah, just for Matt, this is just for groups that so this is for like if I want to rent the arena, right? Just so people know, if I want to rent the arena, this is for liability for myself, right? Or for my group, if I rent the ice.
Through you, Mayor. So yes, that's essentially the case. The majority of our users have their own liability policies through whether it's their organizing body or their own policies that they bring forward purchased privately. But some of our users have been essentially piggybacking off of the city's liability policy, which puts us at increased risk of potential claims. So this is a low-cost option for renters to have their own liability policies, as well as lowering our own risk for operating these facilities and having these types of rentals.
Any other questions, comments? Call the question. All in favor? That would be carried. Lastly, 15M, Administrative Report PW 005, 2022, the purchase of a backhoe loader. And like a motion be resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Stores acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report PW 005, 2022. And the Council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to enter an agreement with J.R. Breeson Equipment for the supply and delivery of a backhoe loader with attachments in the amount of $193,500 plus applicable taxes for consideration at the February 15th, 2022 regular council meeting, and that council directs staff to surplus the City of Temiskaming Stores 2008 case backhoe for a trade-in value of $8,000 for a subtotal price of $185,500 plus applicable taxes. So, moved by Councillor Whalen, second by Councillor Jelly. Questions, comments? All in favor? That would be carried. And that's all the new business. Moving into item 19, the bylaws. I've got a motion to be resolved that bylaw 2022-024 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2019-018 as amended to appoint community representatives to various committees and boards on the 2019-2022 term of council. Bylaw 2022-025 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of the transfer payment agreement with the Northern Ontario Resource Development Support Fund between Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario, represented by the Minister of Northern Development, Mines, Natural Resources and Forestry, and the Corporation of the City of Temiskaming Shores. Bylaw 2022-026 being a bylaw to designate any plan of subdivision or part thereof that has been registered for 8 years or more, which shall be deemed as not a registered plan of subdivision for 474 and 480 Helmer Pedersen Drive. The roll number is 5418 010 007 005.42/47 or 43. Bylaw 2022-027, being a bylaw to designate any plan of subdivision or part thereof that has been registered for 8 years or more, which shall be deemed as not a plan of subdivision for 48 Lowry Street. Roll number 5418 030 001 005.03. Bylaw 2022-028, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2017-154 to rezone part of Diamond Concession 3, south part of Lot 4, being RP 54R 6087, Part 4, and RP 54R 6156, Part 1, from Prime Agriculture A1 and Open Space OZ, or OS, zone to the rural residential R1 zone to permit the construction of a single detached dwelling, roll number 5418 020 001-103.00. Bylaw 2022-029, being a bylaw to stop up and close a highway, part of 2nd Street, being legally described as Part 2 on Plan 54R 6248. And bylaw 2022-030, being a bylaw to stop up and close a highway as part of 4th Street, being legally described as Part 1 on Plan 54R 6248. Bylaw 2022-031, being a bylaw to authorize the sale of land for a part of 2nd Street, described as Part 2 on Plan 54R 6248, to Morris Plow and Hazel Plow. Bylaw 2022-032, being a bylaw to authorize the sale of land for a part of 4th Street, described as Part 1 on Plan 54R 6248, to Morris Plow and Hazel Plow. Bylaw 2022-033, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with CIMCO Refrigeration, Division of Tormont Industries Limited, for the replacement of the chiller at the Shelley Herbert Shea Memorial Arena. Bylaw 2022-034, being a bylaw to adopt a recreation facility user liability insurance policy for the city of Temiskaming Shores. And lastly, bylaw 2022-035, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with J.R. Breeson Equipment for the supply and delivery of 1 case backhoe loader with attachments. So these bylaws be hereby introduced and given first and second reading. So, move by Councillor Jelly, second by Councillor MacArthur. So, all in favor? That would be carried. Motion be resolved that bylaw 2022-024, 025, 026, 027, 028, 029, 030, 031, 032, 033, 034, and 035 be given third and final reading, be signed by the mayor and clerk, and the corporate seal affixed there too. So moved by Councillor Whalen, second by Councillor Foley. Any last comments or questions? All in favor? That would be carried. Schedule of council meetings. The next one's set up for Tuesday, March the 1st at 6 p.m. and the subsequent meeting after that is Tuesday, March the 15th. We've reached our second question and answer period. Does anyone got any questions on the chat line or council, staff? Any questions for council tonight? So, if not, we've got no closed session. We have a confirming bylaw. Be resolved the bylaw 2022-036, being a bylaw to confirm certain proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Temiskaming Shores for its regular meeting held on February the 15th, be hereby introduced and given first and second reading. So, we're going to mover and seconder, Councillor Foley, second Councillor Ferrier. All in favor? That is carried. And second last bylaw, be it resolved the bylaw 2022-036 be given third and final reading, be signed by the mayor and clerk, and the corporate seal affixed there too. We're moving to a seconder. Moved by Councillor Jelly, second by Councillor Foley. All in favor? That is carried. And last motion to, what time is it? 6:34. So, Be resolved, the City Council hereby adjourns at 6:34. Mover and seconder, Councilor MacArthur, second by Councilor Ferrier. All in favor? That is carried. We are adjourned for the evening. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. So we'll get everybody home early.